The majority of the sewer system in the city of San Carlos was installed before the 1960s. This is City Hall in Focus. I'm Gloria Cohn. To talk about the sewer system today, joining me in the studio is Jay Walter, the Director of Public Works. Jay, that sounds really old to me.
Well, it is, and that's one of the problems that we face with our sewer program. Because the pipes are old and we've inspected many of them, a lot of them have defects, and so they have to be repaired or replaced. And that's a big component of cost when it comes to the city's sewer expenses.
You said you've inspected them. How do you do that?
We actually hired a contractor that sends a camera down all the sewer lines. He cleans them out first, then he sends his camera down the line, and it actually gives us a 360 view inside that pipe from one end to the other, and that way we know exactly where the defects are.
And you will repair only the system that needs to be replaced or repaired? Is that how it works?
That's what we're shooting for, because when we got all that video data back and we looked it over, we found that about 40% of the system has some pretty major defects in it. But that doesn't mean that every foot of pipe in 40% of the system is defective and needs to be replaced. It means that some places there's a hole in the pipe for some reason, there's roots growing into it from where it's cracked, or there's some other kind of a problem where we may be able to just go in and replace 10 feet or so and be in good shape. But other locations are going to replace the whole pipe between manholes.
Are you surprised that it's only 40% considering how old the infrastructure is?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that it's that little because you expect deterioration. But yet infrastructure systems are designed to last a long time. So those other sections of pipe, well, you know, they're in reasonably good shape, but we know we're going to have to do some things to those too. But they just don't have to be done as quickly.
What are those pipes made of?
Typically those pipes from that era are made of clay, and they have generally, say, 6-foot sections that are stuck together, and sometimes through displacement of the earth or other impacts, the pipes separate. And that strategy has been changed because there's been so many sewer systems that have had problems based on those pipes and that type of connection system.
What is the material they'll replace them with?
Typically we use plastic pipe. It's a high density polyethylene pipe that is much longer in sections, and then it actually, once it's in place, it gets fused together. So it's unlikely to pull apart at the joints.
Tell me about the funding of the replacement or repair of the pipes.
So all the city's sewer funding comes from the rates that are paid by our residents and the businesses in town. So all of the system is set up to where we have calculated the amount that needs to be replaced and the cost of that, and we create a capital program that we present to the City Council on an annual or every other year basis so that they know how much we're going to need to be able to spend. Then we determine what the rates are for each of the individual accounts, whether they're residential accounts or business accounts or industrial accounts. And then the amounts are calculated, and then the council approves those rates, and then those are charged the following year.
And do you anticipate a rate hike?
Generally speaking, we have a rate hike because the capital program that we have created, it has a need of about $44 million over the, say, 10 or 11 years that we would plan to make replacements. So generally, we're looking in the range of about 3 to 5% per year. There are other costs.
3 to 5% rate hike per resident.
3 to 5% rate hike per resident and business. We have other costs that go along with it as well, because we eventually have to take that wastewater and convey it to the treatment plant, which is not in San Carlos, but it's over in the Redwood Shores area.
Before I talk about and ask questions about the treatment center, you said 40% of the pipes are going to be replaced. Do you have a knowledge of when the others might need replacing or repairing?
Well, with the 40% that we've identified that have the most severe defects, that'll allow us to go in and look at other sections of pipe just to make sure that we don't need to make some minor repairs there. 100% of the system won't be repaired or replaced, but we will have gone through 100% of the system to make sure that it's functioning properly and repaired where needed.
That's good to know. Now the treatment center, where is that located?
So the Silicon Valley Clean Water Treatment Plant is located out at the eastern end of Redwood Shores, so right on the edge of San Francisco Bay.
And its function is to do what?
So basically, its function is to take that wastewater that we generate in San Carlos and that gets generated in several other communities and process it so that it can be disposed of essentially at the end of its treatment into San Francisco Bay as acceptable water quality effluent, they call it. But just essentially, it's not harming the bay.
San Carlos isn't the only customer of this treatment center, is that right?
That's right.
What are the other cities?
Redwood City, Belmont, Menlo Park, Atherton, those areas kind of generally make up the Silicon Valley treatment area of responsibility.
And you have to pay, the city has to pay, right, to have this waste treated. What is your financial responsibility?
That's right. San Carlos is responsible for about 15% of the flow that gets into the treatment plant. And so in that area is what we're responsible for from an operating and a capital improvement standpoint.
So you pay about 15%, and is this paid by rate hikes or bonds?
So it's paid for in the rates that are charged to our customers. So for example, the San Carlos rates that are charged have a component that pays for the city's operation and maintenance cost, the city's capital improvement cost, as we discussed earlier, where we're replacing or repairing the pipes, and it also pays for the cost to operate the treatment plant with all the processes that go along with that, and as well as any improvements needed at the treatment plant to be able to keep it running at the proper standard and so that it can do its job properly.
How are the residents and businesses doing about getting the right products down the sewers to maintain the health?
There's some challenges in San Carlos, and in particular, about 6 years ago, the city was taken to task by a group called San Francisco Baykeeper because we had a number of overflows that were being caused by problems in the city's sewer system. So we've made great strides in the last 5 years. We've replaced about $12 million worth of pipe, which has increased the capacity of the city's sewer system, and we've reduced the number of overflows that have occurred. But we still end up with problems with hair clogs, grease clogs, especially in some of our businesses in those areas around town, and generally with defects in the pipe. Sometimes tree roots get in, and that's a little bit of a problem. But so that's less about what a resident or business does, but we still have foreign objects going down the sewer that shouldn't be, and we just need folks to recognize that really there's only those natural things that should be going down the toilet or the drain.
And is there a list of the natural things that either the city offers or someone else offers?
Not really, but again, it's designed, the effort is designed to try to keep the foreign objects out, especially in the business area with restaurants. Silicon Valley Clean Water and city staff will go and talk to those businesses to let them know, hey, how is your kitchen operation going? What is your staff doing to make sure that they're not putting things down the drain they shouldn't be doing? And so it remains an ongoing effort because the clogs are what create the big problem for us, and the line backs up.
What is the single most important thing we as residents can do and keep away from our sewers and plumbing lines?
It's anything like, say, diapers, flushable wipes, which are really not flushable, rags, that's a kind of a general category for stuff that just ends up going down the drain, grease in the kitchen, and excessive amounts of material that you send through your garbage disposal. Really, most of that can be disposed of in your food waste container.
Jay, I have a two-part question for you. Why do you need that rate increase? And are sewer rates based on water usage?
Well, good questions. And the first part of that is the reason that we need the rate increases for the next several years are because of the operational and maintenance costs for both the city's system and the Silicon Valley Clean Water treatment plant, but also for the major capital improvements that are needed to be done. These are significant investments that have not been asked for in years past, and in particular at the Silicon Valley Clean Water plant. This is a plant that was built in 1980 that has not been upgraded significantly since that time. So virtually all the process systems, equipment, and everything else are wearing out at the same time. And so they have a massive capital program, and that's what our 15% share goes towards. at the treatment plant is to replace those improvement parts and everything else to help to keep it functioning and delivering the treated effluent that's needed. The second part of the question is, are the sewer rates based on the amount of water used? And the answer to that question is no. Essentially, the sewer system, as it's provided to each of the residences and businesses in town, essentially it doesn't matter if the particular location uses lots of water or a little bit of water. And especially from a residential standpoint, the pipes are the same size, the mains are the same size, so we don't have higher costs to convey or treat the wastewater based on the amount of water that gets used. It's a pretty common question to get asked, and yet in our case, we have a system that has a fixed cost of operating it and a known cost to repair and replace it. And so we feel like a flat rate for sewer is probably the best way to go.
Thank you, Jay. It sounds like we could do a better job of maintaining the health of our sewer system. For more about this, you can visit the website for the City of San Carlos. This is City Hall in Focus. I'm Gloria Cohn.